Hi everyone, it's St Joseph's Regional College. It's Adam here from Real Schools. Just a quick follow-up video to the opportunity that we had a few weeks ago to spend some time together. I thought that if we had a little resource that you could revisit, that it might help you keep some of the key principles from the opportunity that we had to work together right at top of mind. And the first thing I actually want to do is to thank you. It was yours is a really welcoming school. It was, I work with many schools around Australia now, and it was a real privilege, a real joy to come and work with you, both from the way you engage in a professional learning environment and also the way that you were really welcoming for me to be in the classroom with you. And it was even great fun to meet your parents, and we were pleasantly surprised at how many of them showed up. So I want to say thank you for giving the opportunity for this partnership to take hold and to create a bit of momentum and traction in your school. In terms of the professional learning day that we spent together, it's probably useful for us to just go through, I guess, the three different modules that we went through on the day. The first idea, I guess, out of the start of it was a little bit of a getting to know you session, but I like to refer to it as putting our restorative goggles on. And what that does is just allows us to see the purpose of restorative practices. And it's been my experience that if relationships are important and if building really strong connections between people in a school is important, then restorative practices is the best tool that we have at our avail to be able to make that come to life. And when we start to do that, we really start to bring out our purpose in our work. And for most of us, we certainly have a strategic purpose, and I know that restorative practices is a particularly important platform in terms of your school bringing alive its strategic purpose, but it also connects really deeply to our moral purpose for why we work with young people. And that's probably the one thing that I love about restorative practices more than anything, is that it gives me a vehicle through which to do what I love to do in a really meaningful way. And so in the second session, we started to get much clearer on restorative practices and what the framework is all about. And for me, there are three really important instruments around restorative practices that we introduced in that session. Number one would be the restorative operating domains, and that gets back to that whole notion of how we balance firmness and fairness. So I really want to encourage you to keep reflecting upon that. As we mentioned on the day, if you want to reflect, you don't do it against a wall. You have to have something to reflect against, and that tool of balancing firmness and fairness through whether we're doing things to, with, for, or not at all when we're in our work is for me one of the really most valuable ways that you can reflect. And acknowledging also that we have defaults. While we do want to practice in the with box, where we're relational and we've got a high level of authority, which we would describe as being authoritative because we've achieved it through our practice, there are times when we slip. And you might remember that I tend to have a tendency to slip over to the 2 box. I can slip to the 4 box, where students come up with great excuses to get out of my expectations, and I can occasionally go to educational Fiji, the not box, and just take the foot off for a really small period of time if I think that it might be valuable in terms of a little bit of well-being late on a Friday afternoon. But there are times when we will slip and make a mistake, and there are times when we will need to leave the with box and go to the 2 box or go to the 4 box. And it really doesn't matter. What's important is that we map, that we do the mapping involved to get ourselves back from wherever it is that we landed, back to that with box in a time appropriate kind of way. So keep using that tool and keep talking to your colleagues about it. The other restorative instrument that I want to talk to you about would be the restorative continuum, which is about moving from informal to formal, and that notion that there are 5 stops along that trip. The first, and we very much focused hard on our day around that informal section, those first couple of stops where we talk about affective interactions and affective statements, because we know they're high frequency interactions in our school, and if we can seize the opportunity to make those restorative, then what we're doing is very much in that culture building kind of realm. So we move from affective statements to affective interactions, small impromptu conferences, through the large group stuff where you might be starting to get some circle time going in your classrooms, and then we have the formal conference right at the end. We didn't go very deeply into what the formal conference is all about. We will be doing that in 2016. But what we are doing is making sure that we understand where the greatest cultural leverage is. Undoubtedly, that's at the informal end. And then I guess the last thing that we really had a good look at around the framework was that whole notion of the restorative questions and what they do for you. And I think I pointed out that it's where a lot of schools trip up around restorative practices, is they waste too much time asking the questions, forgetting that the questions have a function, and the primary function of those questions is to take any interaction with students from past past to present to future, and we should be doing that as quickly as we possibly can. So it's not a case of getting the questions out if somebody does something really minor, but it's a case of saying, if I have an interaction with someone really quickly, can I go, what was that all about? Past. How do you think that's making people feel? Present. And what do you reckon you need to do about that? Future. So we can move really quickly if we give ourselves the skill and the idea of knowing that that's the function of those restorative questions. And then in the afternoon we got our hands dirty. We started to have a look at some frames around student behaviour and engagement that fit neatly under that restorative banner. So we had to look at that whole notion of looking at behavioural motivation with the help me kids, the make me kids, the look at me kids and the you'll pay kids. And we had a really good look at that whole concept of the golden rule around human behaviour, which is that every behaviour has a meaning, in that it is a young person trying to get, avoid or achieve something, and it has a context, which means it occurs specific to the people and the environment around that behaviour. And we finished the day by having a little bit of conversation about what your commitments were and how you were going to move forward. Around those commitments, you're very lucky people. I had some technical difficulties on the day, and my failed memory card has let me down. So there's no embarrassment for you today around this clip. It's simply a reminder. It's simply an opportunity for when you watch this to have a conversation with somebody else around whether your commitment as a teacher is high, whether your opportunity to build caring within students is being taken, and whether you're actively doing some work around connecting your school community and all of those parents that came along to the parent night. So again, thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure to visit you. I'm genuinely excited about continuing to work with you. We're going to have some plans in place, and we're going to have some icons around the school that you'll see that keep this at top of mind for you, and we're going to support you while we continue to help you do the important work that you need to do. Remember, this is a partnership, so we're not interested in giving you extra work to do. This whole idea of working with Real Schools should not be around additional workload. What it should be around is helping you to do what you have to do more effectively and with less stress. So to that effect, keep in mind that email address is info@realschools.com.au. Stay in touch. If there's anything that I can give you a hand with, or there's anything that you'd like to share with me, I'd love to know. Alright guys, I'll let you off the hook there, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.